See if I can. All right. I think I hear you now.
You can hear us?
Yes, I can. Yes.
Welcome.
Oh, thank you.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm Jozlyn in the flesh.
Hi, Jozlyn in the flesh. I'm Will in spirit.
Yeah.
There's Karen next to me. Karen in the corner.
Yeah, I can't hear Karen.
There we go. Hello.
There we go.
There you go.
Don't put Karen in the corner. I don't like that.
Nobody put the baby in the corner.
Exactly. This is Frankie, my co-host. He's joining us this evening.
Hello.
Hey, Frankie. Nice to see you.
Yes.
Nice to see you.
We're so happy that you're here. I'm so happy that you accepted our invitation because I have to tell you, I'm a little like, I feel like I'm being a fangirl a little bit, just to be completely honest with both of you.
Sorry, that choked me up for a second.
I'm used to that.
That's awfully kind of you to say. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I really enjoy your podcast. And I was trying to think like, how did I find you? And I'm like, I don't know, but I really enjoy the podcast, your podcast, the two of you. And I was really, and I was really excited. And it's so funny because I only listened to you like through the audio version. And so it's great to like actually put like a face to a name and a voice, it's so cool.
So were we what you expected?
Karen, you're beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Wait. What are you trying to say?
Okay. Well, you're pretty too.
Oh, all right.
I don't want to leave you out, but yeah. So I'm excited because I honestly like every time I listen to one of your episodes, I'm blown away, just like you guys are. Just like how you guys always say that. But I was like, gosh, I really just wanted to meet the two of you. And I'm going to properly introduce you. You're the Skeptic Metaphysician. It's Will and Karen. We're so happy that you guys are here. I was chatting you up a little bit prior to this. So, but I just wanted to know more about you guys because I don't know why, but I feel like sometimes in your podcast, I'm like listening and waiting for more. Like, I feel like you're holding back on me or something. And is that like, am I onto something here?
Well, you are, because I mean, when we interview people on the show, it's really about their message and their story. We
sure.
we sprinkle a little bit of ourselves into it whenever it makes sense. But I guess we've always felt that other people are much more interesting than we are. So especially with their stories that they have.
Yeah.
I've not really. I don't have a lot of stories to tell in that vein, but I'm fascinated by them.
Yeah.
So, what was it? Follow the Woo, I think, was probably the closest we've gotten where they actually, both of them started interviewing me for some reason. I was against it, but
yeah.
But yeah, there's things, we don't really get an opportunity to talk about ourselves an awful lot, and that's okay.
Yeah. Well, I should also say we always cheers. So cheers to you guys. I don't know. I have tea tonight.
Cheers.
It's actually a hot toddy, so don't tell anybody. But I usually have something else that I'm drinking, but we're a little under the weather, which is like, 'tis the season. So, but the show must go on. So I was like, hot toddy it is. But
got our Jello shots.
Yeah, right.
Oh, we actually have some in the fridge.
Do you really? Oh,
we really do.
Yeah.
They're a staple here.
We're big kids. We really are.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best. I think we should all be big kids. I think we take life way too seriously, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to ask. Okay, so what is your day job, right? Like, what do you do by day when you're not podcasting? I want to dig a little bit into that. And maybe I should even start with like the first question I sent you is like, how the hell did you get into this? Like, how did you, like, what happened? Like, was there like a moment in time, an experience, something that launched you into the Skeptic Metaphysician,
Wow. I might be a little boring for you. I don't know, but I think what happened to me anyway, I'll speak on my behalf, and then I'll let the leading lady take over because she's got a much more interesting story than I do.
I do.
I mean, you must, because mine is really boring. So.
I'll come up with something quick.
you got 12 seconds. My mom, when we were growing up, was always searching, and she had those Carlos Castaneda books around and Richard Bach books around, and I stumbled on them and picked up. I was an avid reader, so I started reading stuff, and I didn't know what the heck this was. My mother found out that I was reading them, and she says, "No, you're much too young. You're not ready for that. You're for that kind of stuff." So of course, it was like, "Ooh, what is this stuff now?" Right? So when I suddenly got old enough to do my own search into that world, I read a lot of Richard Bach and Carlos Castaneda, and then went into a whole of other rabbit holes. Back when I was in my 20s or so, I was living in Miami. I dove in with 2 feet, like full on. I don't know if you've heard on the show intro, but I joined the coven. I learned Reiki. I mean, I've tried aspirin. I've done almost everything that we talk about. I've tried to very little success. So then life got in the way, and then during COVID, had a personal catastrophe. Stupid mistakes, decisions that I made that made me almost lose everything. Literally, almost lose everything. Opened up my eyes that I was making massive mistakes in my life, and I needed to get my shit together. I'm sorry, I don't know if we're.
Please swear away. We're in a safe space.
Thank goodness. And I started down the mental health path first, and then realized that mental health isn't all there is. And then I remembered back into my 20s where I was diving into this stuff and realized that we're so much more than just this 3-dimensional body we inhabit. And so I started the podcast. At first it was on my own.
Yeah.
To dive into these things, to rediscover everything. I had to remember everything. And then after, I don't know how many episodes I recorded on my own. After a while, there was something missing. So I asked Karen to come on and join me as a guest a couple of times, and had so much fun exploring it with her that it just made sense to say, hey, I need you to be a full-time co-host. And she somehow got snowed and got into it. So, but that's my story. Anyway.
I honestly, can I just ask a quick question?
Yeah, of course.
Are you like, so, okay. Oh gosh, there's again, now like there's so many questions I have, and now I don't want to take away from Karen.
I know the feeling. Right. Exactly.
Okay. So one question is like, are you allowed to elaborate on like, maybe, because like that's what I'm all about. Like chaos is universal. And I feel like we all have something, we all go through something, whether it's like, big something, medium something, little something. And sometimes like sharing it and airing it out just makes it can validate somebody else that's going through the same thing or same experience, and but then again, like there are points in life where you're just not ready to fully share. Sure. I just admitted to that, like why I'm down this rabbit hole a little bit ago, what got me on this path.
I'll share what I can. It involves other people, so I don't want to include.
Okay, sorry.
But I'll share what I can. I had really my entire life, I thought I was this really great guy. I thought I had it all together. I knew what I was doing, who I was, how I was reacting to people, only to find that I'm not. I'm just not. I'm kind of an asshole. I mean, I am. Okay. I have been. I've been really angry. So there's some trauma in my past that I've gotten in terms with that made me really angry, and I didn't realize how angry I was. The things with my parents and their relationship, and being torn away from my home, the only home that I knew, and then initial relationships when I was in my formative years were disastrous, which then led me to I was born in Puerto Rico to Cuban parents. Okay. Moved to Connecticut, which is the town I was in was the second richest town in the country, second only to Beverly Hills. So you can imagine this Puerto Rican kid who spoke differently, thought differently, looked differently, suddenly thrust into the stage with the world's biggest, richest preppies in the world. You can imagine the kinds of reception that I got. Well, my entire life, I'm thinking they are the reason why I got into all these fights. Well, over the course of the past few years, looking into all these things, I realized I have a really awful sense of self-sabotage. Like I can't be okay being okay. And it's because of these formative years. It wasn't that these people were at fault for making me angry. I didn't give them a chance because I was so angry. Right. Because I walked into the room, I kicked that door open and go, come on, come at me, right, kind of thing. So I was called Will the Complicated Fellow when I was being in different work relationships or situations. There was always drama. There was always people coming after me. I was never happy. I was never satisfied with what I've got, even though I was very successful, but I blew it all. And
Yeah.
and then like with most people during COVID times,
Yeah.
right as COVID was hitting, it all came to a head, and I had I would say it's probably Karen, probably safe to say I had a little mini nervous breakdown.
Or an awakening. We can just say awakening. You know,
Yeah.
it was like an awakening.
There was an awakening through due to fire. Put it that way.
Boy.
Not a physical fire, but literally a breakdown that I had when I realized suddenly that it's all my fault.
Yeah.
Like everything that's leading up to this point in my life has been my fault, and I've got to change. I've got to become the person that I thought I was.
Right.
And so this exploration has gone a long way towards that.
Yeah, that's pretty intense, man. Like I would call that an emotional dumpster fire, right? It's like everything's just like on fire.
It
But-
has
Oh,
been.
yeah.
It has been. And Karen,
But
thankfully,
wow.
has been privy to all of it. She's had a front row seat to it all. So
She's like, yay. You need someone like that to like anchor. You need an anchor, because I think we've all been there, at certain points in our life where you think that you're one way, and then you come to find out that that's not exactly the way that you are, or you go through these like evolutions of figuring out who you are. So I think you are a pretty good guy, because at least you're paying attention to what's going on and making the changes. There's a lot of people out there that don't pay attention, don't figure it out, and don't make the changes. But I have 5 other questions for you. But what were you going to say? And then I want to hear like Karen too, because
real briefly.
I'm
honestly, Karen, I truly believe, and it was confirmed. The episode we just released today was confirmed what I've been saying along. She is an angel walking on this planet. We had a spirit medium that has confirmed my every suspicion of Karen. So if you haven't listened to that, you should, because it
was interesting.
It blows the doors wide open to what her mission on this planet is. So, but I've been extremely lucky to have her by my side. She is truly my angel, and for her to still be here, in spite of everything that she's been privy to, I'm unbelievably grateful.
Can I ask you as a personal question?
Of course.
Are you guys like married, dating, friends? Because I think that's a burning question. Anybody listening? I'm just gonna dig right in.
Yeah,
They don't call me. Oh, you want to know too? Okay,
Yeah.
good. I know, Frankie, you're very quiet.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot Frankie was there.
I know, right?
He's lurking in the corner over here. Yeah, so that's the burning question. I'll let Karen answer that one.
Okay, and then
you can ask that a lot.
And then I want to hear about your experience, Karen. I'm sorry, I just stepped on you, but I want to hear about your experience. So.
Oh, no problem. So we are best friends, and we are dating, and we are married.
Oh,
so we've been married 13 years.
Wow.
But shh, don't tell anybody.
Yes, no, we have different last names.
We do.
And it's interesting. It's been a plus in a lot of ways. So it's
and that's by design, because most of the time when people think, oh, they're married, there's an expectation there. Oh, he got there because of her. He's riding her coattails, or vice versa, or something along those lines. So we purposely, in our professional lives, kept our last name. Not only that, I didn't want to own her, right? And that's what the whole name change thing is all about, right?
Yes.
So she has her own identity,
Mhm.
and this is our way of honoring that, is by her keeping her last name.
That's
So
beautiful.
people ask all the time. The answer is yes. We are married. We have been married for 13 years. We are best friends.
That's cool.
But we don't always lead with that.
Yeah.
Because we don't want the expectations.
Mhm.
Yeah, I could
And
tell.
we can mess with people too.
We can mess with people. That's one of our favorite things to do. If you haven't figured it out by now, we love messing with people.
So you're really married though. You're
Yeah,
not
yeah,
messing
yeah,
with me. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Yeah. No, usually it's the other way around, where we don't tell them until like the very end, like last hour, like, oh, by the way, we're married. What? So,
Do people ask you that question, or is that like, or are they just too timid to ask? Because they're like,
I think both.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
both.
I think professionally, people don't typically they don't want to assume, or it's not like we don't keep it a secret, right? We keep professional. We're not holding hands when we're working together, or the PDAs, or
Well, maybe we should tell her what we do.
Yes.
yeah. We work in television. We're TV producers.
Okay, so that's your day job.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So now the pieces of the puzzle are just coming all together. Okay, so that's awesome. So that's pretty cool. So obviously you know what you're doing to, having a podcast and having all that set up. So that's pretty cool.
Well, it's different though. It's very different.
It
than
is
TV.
very different.
Yeah. I've worked my entire career in television, and it's all about telling stories with video. And
Fascinating. That's fascinating.
And the edits are really important. And all of a sudden you get in front of a microphone and you just kind of stream of consciousness. You speak, you put your own, at least we do, we put our own personality into our shows. Because we started the show for the fun of it. Like, we don't monetize it. It's there because it was a tool for me. And then now that Karen's on, we have fun. Like, we truly enjoy doing it. There was a point in time when we almost shuttered the show. And this was before Karen was on as a full-time host. So we record it, we write it, we edit it, we promote it, we do everything ourselves. We don't hire anybody out for anything. We do everything ourselves. And it's a lot of work, as you know.
My God.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
So it's a lot of work.
A lot of time out of your life, and we have a daughter that we want to spend time with, and it was getting to be too much.
And our schedules are kind of funky in TV. It's not like always a 9 to 5 sort of thing. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. So when you're doing this, it takes up your night, and it takes away the time with the kids, or the time, being a family. So it can be tricky.
Right.
Yeah.
So we were getting ready to shutter it, and we're going through stuff online to get ready to close it down. And all of a sudden we stumbled on Apple reviews, right? Is it Apple reviews?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Apple podcast reviews. I had no idea that they were there. And we had like 20
or something. Yeah.
20 reviews. And as we're reading them, and as we're
they were long.
Right. It's not like, I love it. Right. It was like really like people telling us why they loved it.
Yeah.
And there was a couple that really kind of that touched us, because they're saying things like, hey, your show has helped me more than you can imagine. Things like that, where
we never thought it would have that sort of an effect on someone.
Yeah. I mean, my eyes, I'm tearing up just thinking about it. The fact that, this is a show that I created to help me get a grip, and to see that other people are resonating because of it.
Right.
She looked at me, I looked at her, and we can't stop this right now. There's if we're helping one other person out there, we can't stop it. So we kept going, and now we edit a little bit. We try to clean it up as much as we can. Sometimes we have audio gremlins, like the one we just released yesterday has some audio challenges, but we just put it out there and hope that people like it, because the message is the most important thing. And we have fun doing it, and we hope that because we're having fun, maybe someone else will too when they listen.
I think that's like key. Go ahead, Karen. What were you going to say? You're going to add something I saw.
Just giving people a chance to learn something that might be out of their comfort zone, but in a way that they don't feel like they're getting all crazy, So it's like, what do we call it? Metaphysics for dummies or something, just like the intro. Yeah. So they can listen to it, they can learn, and, if something resonates with them. And there's so many different modalities that they can kind of have different options. Well, this sounds kind of hokey, but that one, now that's interesting.
Yeah.
So I assume that you guys sort of filter through, because I still want to hear Karen's place and time or experience that might have like launched her into, partnering up with you, and like keeping the ship moving with your podcast, which I think, please don't stop. I would appreciate you. You got one fan here, a fangirl again.
I got to talk to you like every day, because you're so great for my ego. Thank you.
Well,
like you need that.
Right.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll just talk to Karen then. I'm just joking. I do love your laugh though, and you do add like a lot to the show, and I can tell that you definitely miss her when she's not on the podcast, and it is difficult to go solo. That's why I have Frankie here with me. I usually have 2 other gals with me, and they weren't able to join us, and Frankie is my buddy, and he also is like been in podcasting stuff too. So I was like, hey, you want to come? And he's like, heck yeah. So
wait, you mean there's someone else here on the call?
No. Stop it. In spirit. By the way, I don't know about you, but I have interviewed like a psychic medium and two different ones, and and they both were kind of different in that sort of same realm. But I too had technical issues. So I know, like, every time you talk about technical issues, I'm sure some of the people you've interviewed have told you that their energy just mucks everything up.
Yeah.
Like, and
Weird.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
We had a lady who died and came back, and she said that the people that experience near-death experiences like that, are carrying around this energy field that just mucks up the works. And sure enough, after her, I think like 3 shows in a row, we had to kind of change platforms and change. I mean, we had to muck around because it was such a mess. So yeah, I think you're right.
You should probably put that in like your intro, your disclaimer or something. Like, we're dealing with some high vibing energies here, people. But it does add for some flavor. So Karen, did you have like obviously it doesn't sound like you had a dumpster fire like awakening, but it's a mental, and I'm playing with you. I'm not, that, but it sounds like maybe you might have had like your own experiences or did he just drag you in kicking and screaming and said, do this with me now?
She's still screaming. I just kind of
no. So my story, I guess, is a little different than Will's. I mean, very similar to him. I didn't have the best childhood experience, but I guess we handled things differently. And I don't know. I mean, I've had an awful lot of experiences in my life that you just can't explain, or you can. A lot of our guests can explain them. Right. So I've never not believed in most of this stuff because I've seen it and I've been there and I've witnessed it. And like I said, we've read a lot of the same books, and it was kind of interesting because it took me years of being married to him for us to even find out this stuff about each other. Which was very interesting because both of us had kind of gotten into that work, professional life, everything by the time we met, and we were on that career path, and you don't really have a lot of time for other things. Right. But once all this started coming out, it was like, yeah, me too. And this and that, and we kind of meshed, and he started this podcast, and I was the fangirl listening to it.
The original.
And he's got such a great voice for this stuff too. He's like, hello, but
well, thank you very much.
So it just was a natural fit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've had some very interesting experiences in my life. So I've never not believed.
Well, it's interesting because she's always been the one that has jumped in with both feet. Right? She's like, yeah, bring it on. You should definitely be psychic. You need to develop your intuitive senses, whatever.
Heck yeah.
I'm more of a, whoa, slow it down. How are you sure? Like, it sounds like it's just a dream to me. Like you were unconscious for a while and you came up and you went, oh, I got a great story. I'll say it was a near-death experience, right? How? Okay. I've always needed that physical. I need to prove it. I don't want to be, and again, it comes from my own dumb stuff. I don't want to be taken advantage of. Yeah. I don't want someone to look at me and go, yeah, I'm psychic and you're going to be this great podcast host. I'm going, how do you know? Right.
Right.
And it comes from, again, my mom back in the day, she was taking us from church to church to church. And to me, it felt really disingenuous. Like I'm someone, okay, they just want my money. They just want my money, right?
See, now I thought you also have that. You don't want to look like a Yahoo to people.
100%. 100%. Yeah. I don't want to feel like I'm coming across as gullible.
Right.
So I need pragmatic explanations. And we had one guy, so you've heard of the law of attraction, right? Manifestation. We had this one guy, Benji Scherer, who came on the show, probably the single most brilliant man I've ever spoken to. Yeah. And he explained the law of manifestation to me, a law of attraction, so pragmatically that I went, duh. How could I not have thought of it that way on my own? It was perfect. That's exactly what I need. I need someone. I don't go into all the woo of things. Right. I want a quantum physics, quantum mechanics explanation about how this stuff works for me to be able to say, yep, okay, I'm on board. Otherwise, like this guy we just released today, I'm going,
So how often do you ever, did you guys ever play that game Bullshit when you were younger? Like how often in your head, or, I mean, cause that's the whole point, is you are a skeptic, you know, and how, and you do ask the questions very eloquently, you know, in a way that like, you know, is kind of like, are you going to ask that question? Cause like, are you going to call bullshit? Like, what are we doing here? Like, is that happening? Is it happening? And then like you ask it in a very nice way, you know, like you just push a little bit. And I'm not saying that you're trying to be mean or anything like that, but you do push the envelope, which I think I appreciate from, you know, because you want to know, like you're thinking in your head as you're listening to these different guests that share these different, you know, adventures and journeys and things that they're doing. And you're kind of like, is that real?
Yeah.
Is that really happening?
I think we've been really lucky to have people that really come across very genuine to me.
Yeah,
there's been a few that are still on the cutting room floor that may never see the light of day, that we turned to each other after we were finished, went, the fuck was that?
Yeah, that was the question I was going to ask you. Do you ever have, you know, some interviews where you're like,
we do. I'm afraid, like, I'm not really good at hiding what I feel in my voice. So there's a few times when you hear on the show and I'm like, wow, that is quite a statement you're saying there, buddy. Right? Like, what you realize, hold up, listen to what you just said. And let's make sure we're on the same page here.
Right.
But for the most part, yeah, we start the show before we start taping, we talk to the guests and say, look, I'm going to be very respectful. I'm not here to debunk anything. I'm here to help share your story. Yeah. Even if it doesn't resonate with me, it might resonate with someone else out there.
Yeah.
But you need to know where I'm coming from. Like, I need to understand why you think these things.
Yeah.
So that I can wrap my head around it and help my audience explain to themselves what you're talking about. Right. So I do push, but I try to push respectfully so that no one gets all pissed off at me and takes off the microphone and runs off, like I've had on video interviews.
Oh my gosh. Really?
And we do tell them these are genuine questions. Like, I don't know. Will knows a lot more as far as studying all of these different modalities. I usually walk into most of the interviews completely blind with no idea of what's going on. Okay. So my questions are all just very genuine curiosity. You know, I figure I represent the person out there who has no idea about any of this.
Right.
So I'm asking what I would think they would want to know.
Yeah.
You do. Yeah. That is a really good way of like, you just answered my questions, because I was going to ask you, like, do you guys prep ahead of time? Do you know what you're walking into, or you just walk into it? Because you do ask very genuine questions that are like, you know, you're kind of like, and then you ask it. I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. I try to prepare a little bit for the interview. Try to get myself a little bit of knowledge behind the modality itself before we start talking. But we want to keep it very genuine, the conversation very organic, because I don't want to come across as, here's my question, here's another question, I want to actually have, like, what we're doing right now. Mm-hmm. We're having a conversation, right? It's like, and we say it every time to the guests before we start. It's like we're in our living rooms just having a dialogue. We're just having a chat, drinking a cup of coffee, drinking a beer, whatever it is, having a couple of shots, a couple of Jello shots, whatever it is. And we're having a conversation about what your message is. And there might be times where I go, what? I'm sorry.
Right.
Let me say that in a different way. Oh, really? Here to explain that a little bit more clearly for me, please. But,
right. Gosh, that's interesting. Because I was just wondering, like, is there one particular maybe experience, Karen, that you had when you were younger that you like just kind of like was an aha moment where you're like, okay, I really believe. Like, I don't just know I believe, I really believe.
Gosh, I've had a
Can
few.
You share that? Okay.
Tell her about Lily. Can you think about what I'm talking about?
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, so we were dating, and it was, I think our first Christmas had passed, and he gave me a beautiful diamond bracelet, and I wore it all the time. And so I went to work one day and I looked and it wasn't on, and I'm like, that's weird, because I don't really take it off. So I'm like, I'm going to go home. So I drive home, and he lived in a different city, so he didn't, he had no knowledge of this. So I go home and I'm looking everywhere. It's nowhere to be found. And then I look to where I normally park, and there's a guy mowing the lawn. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have to buy myself a new bracelet and fake it. I'm like, what am I going to do? Where did he get it? I got to look at the catalog. So I have had this woman that is around me, and I have named her Lily because I don't know her name, and she's a good ghost. And so I stood in my living room, like, all right, Lily, I need your help. Help me find this bracelet. And so I waited a couple of minutes and I just gave up looking. And so I opened the door to go back to my car to drive back to work. And I looked down, and right at the entrance of my door in a perfect spiral shape is my bracelet.
I had the chills.
Like, and I had been back and forth looking everywhere for it.
Like legit chills, like right up my spine. Wow. Yeah. Is she still around you? Like, is she still like present?
I think she stayed with our house in Florida.
Yeah. So the house that we owned in Florida, Karen owns in Florida, has always only been owned by women. Mm-hmm. And we feel that Lily is one of the women who owned the house, and it's kind of a protective thing.
Okay.
But we do think she's still there.
But if I didn't acknowledge her from time to time, stuff would happen. Like you'd be sleeping and like shelves would fall off, in the bathroom, or things would go missing and then turn up in the refrigerator. But she was nice. I mean, as far as I told her, I'm like, you are welcome to stay here. Just don't freak me out. Right. That was my little conversation. Another time, I used to be a teacher, and a student had given me a pen for, I don't know, a gift. And it was a really nice pen. And it's my favorite pen. And of course I lost it. And months went by. And one day I went into my bedroom, and it's on top of my dresser, all taken apart and laid out in a perfectly straight line. So
I'm seriously like, oh my God.
So I never saw anything. Yeah. Every once in a while, my dog would bark into the darkness.
To the corner.
That's the scariest thing when they do that. Like, it scares the heck out of me.
But I just, in my mind, I decided she's good and we're going to be friends and she can stay. And I'm just going to tell her, don't be a bitch. Don't freak me out. And you're welcome to stay here.
She actually helped you out.
Yeah, she did. She found the bracelet, man. And saved me however much money to buy a new one.
Not just that.
Right. And not have to like
look you up.
Oh, no, that was a different house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, that was that might have been, oh, that's right. I forgot about that. That's the one you wanted me to tell her about?
No.